The day I turned 18, I finally found the courage to talk about the man who walked away when I was just 6 years old. My name is Suri, and yes, I'm Tom Cruise's daughter. But here's the painful truth nobody talks about. I haven't seen my father in over 12 years. Not at my birthdays. Not at my school plays. Not even one phone call. Today, I'm breaking my silence because staying quiet was slowly killing me inside. And I need you to hear what really happened to the little girl the world watched grow up alone. I was born on April 18, 2006, in a hospital in Santa Monica. My birth was different from other babies. There was complete silence. No crying, no noise, nothing. My mom wasn't allowed to scream during labor. They called it a silent birth. My father believed this would keep my energy pure. But that silence at my birth was just the beginning of a lifetime filled with more silence than any child should experience. For the first 6 years of my life, things seemed normal. I had both my parents. I didn't know everything was about to fall apart. I was too young to understand words like divorce. I just knew that one day my dad was there, and the next day he wasn't. It was 2012. I remember my mom holding me really tight, like she was trying to protect me from something terrible. I didn't hear his footsteps in our home anymore. The laughter stopped. The family movie nights just disappeared. I asked my mom where dad went. She touched my face gently and told me I didn't do anything wrong. But here's the thing about kids. We don't need anyone to tell us something is wrong. We feel it deep inside. We feel it in the silence that fills the house. We feel it in the empty chair at dinner. And that's exactly what I felt. A huge emptiness that I couldn't explain. After he left, I started remembering little things. The last time he picked me up. The last time we went for a walk. The last time I heard him say my name. The last time I felt like I had a complete family. These memories hurt because I knew they were the last ones. I would sit in my bedroom, hugging the teddy bear he gave me when I was 3, thinking maybe if I stayed really quiet, he would come back. That thought stayed with me for years. I kept seeing my dad, but only on TV screens and in magazines. I'd see him on red carpets, smiling and waving. I'd see him in movies doing crazy stunts. And I'd think, okay, so he's still alive. He's still out there somewhere. He's just not here with me. I didn't know if I should feel angry or sad. Kids don't know how to hate like adults do. We just know that someone is missing. And that missing feeling was so big, I could hear it echo in my dreams. When I turned 10, my questions changed. I stopped asking where is dad. I started asking why doesn't he come? I didn't have an answer. My mom didn't either. But she tried so hard to make up for it. She took me to school every day. She brought me to see shows. She cooked all my favorite foods. She held me tight whenever I asked questions she couldn't answer. She never said bad things about my dad. But I was smart enough to know that when adults avoid answering, it's because the truth hurts too much. I grew up between two different worlds. There was the father the whole world knew as a superstar. Then there was my mom, who nobody knew had to be strong enough to protect me from every storm. Every time I walked on New York streets, cameras followed me, dozens of them. But there was one picture no camera ever caught. Me sitting by my window every single night, wondering if my dad ever thought about me even once. That question followed me everywhere. From age 6 to 12, then to 15. That's when most kids start figuring out who they are. But I was still waiting for a phone call that never came. At school, sometimes friends would ask why my dad doesn't visit. I would laugh. I had to laugh because if I didn't, I would cry right there in front of everyone. So I learned to hide my pain behind a smile. I learned to take care of myself really early. Not because I wanted to, but because I had to. I taught myself how to ride the subway alone. I did my schoolwork by myself. I picked myself up on bad days when nobody asked if I was okay. I grew up in a very real, very normal world, far away from Hollywood lights, completely different from the rich princess image people had of me. I wasn't spoiled. I was just a regular girl living with her mom, trying to be normal in a life that felt anything but normal. But no matter how hard I tried, there were moments when my heart felt so heavy I couldn't breathe. Like when I saw my friend's dad pick her up after dance class. I stood there watching them hug from far away, close enough to know exactly what I was missing. My mom came a few minutes later and hugged me. I leaned into her. She wasn't just my mother. She was also my best friend and the only person I could count on. By 17, I had gotten used to not having a dad around. But getting used to pain doesn't mean it stops hurting. It just means the pain becomes part of who you are. like a scar that doesn't bleed anymore, but still hurts when you touch it. And when I turned 18, I realized something. Staying silent for too long is like being in prison. That's when I decided I had to speak up. That's when everything started to change. Let me tell you about June 29, 2012. That's the day my mom's divorce became final. It happened just 11 days after she filed papers. The media called it the fastest divorce Hollywood ever saw. Everyone thought it was just adult stuff. But for a 6-year-old girl like me, it was the day my world got torn apart, and nobody asked if I could handle it. I still remember that night. My mom was packing the last bag. She zipped it up, then sat next to me. She touched my hair without saying anything. Sometimes silence says more than words. Our apartment felt dark and cold that night, like the whole world was waiting for something terrible to happen. And it did. My dad never came back. Never. In the following months, I started hearing adults talk about things I didn't understand. But even though I didn't get the words, I felt what they meant. Words like Scientology, control, keeping the child away. Nobody said these things to me directly, but kids listen with their hearts. I knew something pulled my father away from me. Something pushed him out of my life like wind slamming a door shut just as I reached for it. I remember asking my mom when I was 8. I said, "Mom, did Dad choose them over me?" She turned away fast. I saw her nose turn red like she was trying not to cry. She said I should never think that. She said I was never second choice. But why did she need to say that? Why would a mother need to comfort her child unless something already made that child feel unwanted? In 2015, when I was 9, the media started saying my dad hadn't seen his daughter in years. Some stories talked about how Scientology had strict rules about people they called outsiders. When I saw a newspaper with a big headline that said Suri grows up without her father, I quickly hid it under the couch. I didn't want my mom to feel sad. But the truth was she already knew. And so did I. In 2020, when I was 14, the virus shut down the world. My mom and I stayed home for months. One evening, when the city was really quiet, I asked my mom something that had been inside me for years. I said, "If one day I want to change my last name, would you be sad?" She looked at me for a long time. She didn't cry, but her eyes told me she knew that question had been growing inside me. We didn't say anything else. But I understood. The pain wasn't about my dad leaving anymore. It was about me learning to live without needing him to return. When I was 16 in 2022, I started thinking about college. I wrote an essay for school. It was the first time I told the truth in writing. I wrote that I grew up with an absence nobody explained. I wrote that sometimes people aren't there for you not because you're not good enough, but because they're too scared to face themselves. I didn't write my father's name, but everyone who read it knew exactly who I meant. And what hurt most was that nobody said I was wrong. At T18, in 2024, I stood in front of my mirror on my birthday. I saw myself not as Tom Cruise's daughter, but as a girl who survived a lot of pain. A girl who learned to love her mother more every day. A girl who was thankful for the normal life her mother built for us. A girl who finally found her voice. And that's when I decided to tell everything. Not to blame, not to get revenge, but to finally let the truth come out from where it had been hiding for too long. I know talking will make some people angry. I know some will defend my father and say I don't understand his side. But staying silent would have killed me slowly. The biggest question was always, why did Dad leave? And the answer starts with one word: Scientology. My whole childhood, people spoke for me. They wrote about me. They decided how I should feel. But nobody asked how much it hurt to have a father I only saw on screens. Not because he was dead, not because he lived far away, but because there was an invisible wall between us that neither my mother nor I could cross. And that wall was Scientology. I remember October 2012, 3 months after the divorce. I was only 6. A friend of my mom said something in front of me. She said Tom can't see the girl if she's not part of the organization. I stood there frozen. I didn't understand what organization meant. I only knew it was the reason I couldn't see my dad. I ran to my room and cried until my mom came and held me. She said I didn't do anything wrong, but how can a child believe that when her father disappeared? When I was 7 in 2013, I realized my dad's silence didn't feel like he was busy. It felt like a choice, like he was choosing not to see me. I saw photos of him all over the world, in London, in Iceland, on movie sets, taking pictures with fans, running and jumping and smiling. And I asked myself, if he can hang off the tallest building in the world, why can't he walk to my door? If he can jump from planes for movies, Why can't he come to my dance show? That question stayed with me for years. Some people say he was just busy, but nobody is too busy for 12 years. Nobody is so busy they can't send one birthday message. Nobody is so busy they can't ask their child if she's okay. And I heard from conversations that Scientology has rules people outside can't understand. They tell members to stay away from people who don't belong. A child like me, living with my mom in New York, going to normal school, not following their practices, I knew which side of the wall I was on. The outside, my mom fought hard to protect me. She gave up her career in privacy to get custody of me. She knew if she didn't act fast, I might grow up inside that organization, and she believed it would break me. People call what she did protection. I call it loving someone so much you sacrifice everything. On May 17, 2024, I did something big. I changed my last name. When I signed papers with my new name, Suri Noel Holmes, I felt like someone finally unlocked a door that had been shut for 12 years. For all those years, I carried the name Cruz without one phone call, one hug, one birthday wish from the man who gave me that name. I always waited for my dad to find me. But on my 18th birthday, I realized I don't need to wait anymore. Many people said changing my name was rejecting my father, but that's not it. I didn't change it to erase him. I changed it to become fully myself, not defined by the man who ruled Hollywood, but by the woman who raised me and loved me enough to stand up against everything. My mother, I wanted her name. I wanted to stand beside her. I wanted my name to show the love that saved me, not the leaving that almost destroyed me. The most painful thing isn't my dad being gone. It's that he's still silent. No call, no message, not even a happy 18th birthday. Just silence, like the past 12 years. I thought that would break me, but it made me stronger. It made me realize I can't keep waiting for sorry that may never come. I had to heal myself, stand up myself, and this story that went on too long. If you watch this far, you get my pain. Subscribe to hear more true stories that change how you see things, because truth deserves to be heard.